Welcome to the 2019 Baldies Awards. These are the deliberation videos. Let's see if I can say that. It's tough. We intend these things to be watched sort of after you watch the Baldies ceremony. So if you haven't seen that yet, maybe go check it out and then come back if you have questions or want to see the whole process. Maybe wonder why we voted a certain way. This is where you'll get all that information. Also, we're going to spoil every single bit of everything on this list. So if you haven't seen it all, don't watch this. If you haven't seen every piece of television and film that came out this year, you probably shouldn't watch. That's not true because this is actually not intended to be a comprehensive list of everything that came out this year. It's actually just everything that we saw, either one of us saw, that came out somewhere between January 1st and December 31st, 2019. So if you're wondering, oh, why didn't X get included? It's probably because we didn't see it or it didn't come out this year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think without further ado, let's check out the Baldies.
Hey, we're back with another Baldies deliberation installment. We're going to try to get through we're going to get through. There's no trying. This is not some Yoda bullshit. We're going to get through the drama category. Sort that into rough shape.
Yeah.
Shall we dig in?
Yeah. I don't know that there's much to do here.
Okay. This list is in sort of kind of chronological order, so it's going to probably be a bigger mess. I don't know. It's going to be a mess to try to sort this through. I kind of despair.
I mean, we could just go ahead and
let's just go through and talk about stuff that needs to go to the top. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
American Gods.
It sounded like that was a clusterfuck.
It was a clusterfuck. It was occasionally gorgeous and funny and cool, but it was a clusterfuck. Das Boot.
How many episodes did we watch? Like one or two?
Yeah, a couple, and it didn't seem like it was. I mean, yeah, it was fine.
I enjoyed what I watched of it. I didn't think it was as good as something like a Chernobyl, for instance.
Yeah, and ultimately, I didn't feel like climbing on board a Nazi submarine for 10 episodes. So True Detective season 3 to the top.
To the top. Goddamn.
Punisher season 2. I'm not even sure I finished that. We both.
I know I got to at least episode 8 because we just looked through the synopsis of the things, and that was the street shootout between Russo and
where Frank Castle worked hard to get the drop on Russo / Jigsaw, disguising himself, and then right as he could have just gone and shot him in the face at 50 yards out, he took off his mask and said, Russo, and stood there in the middle of the street as all of Russo's men shot at him with automatic weapons.
Had to duck behind cars and shit, and that's indicative of that show's quality, I think, in season 2, roughly.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not anti-Punisher by any stretch of imagination.
I like the fight in the gym.
You know who is anti-Punisher? Netflix.
Russo? Oh.
Pulled the plug on the entire Marvel project this last year.
Yeah, damn you, Netflix. I'm sure you had nothing. You had no say in it, but
yeah. And I'm bummed that I probably saw more of the Punisher than I did. Like, I didn't see any of the new season of Luke Cage. I didn't see any of like season 3 of Jessica Jones, which probably was better. But that's the way it goes. Happy. I
didn't watch this.
You didn't? Oh, I thought you saw a couple.
No, I never got to it.
So Happy is an adaptation of a comic book series, and the premise is you've got like a washed up cop who is now a private investigator, and I think he got drummed out of service because he was like not corrupt enough or something. And he is befriended by this little blue unicorn voiced by Patton Oswalt, and he is the imaginary friend of a little girl who's been abducted by this psychotic Santa Claus serial killer thing. And he has to work with this delusion to find the girl before she's killed, and there's a whole group of children with it, and it's very perverse. There's a lot of trippy stuff because the idea of this guy being on drugs and on alcohol is a pervasive part of every episode. It's very dark and funny and cool. I don't know if it needs to go to the top.
Okay. Kingdom to
the fucking top. A period piece Korean zombie television show.
Yeah.
Season 2 win.
I don't know, actually.
I'm going to look it up right now. Kingdom.
You should know about that. If
Season 2, Netflix.
It's already been
Coming
released,
to
and Netflix didn't tell
March
anybody.
2020.
March 2020. Motherfucker, we're gonna be so busy.
I mean, I don't know that we'd ever get full coverage of this, but I definitely
Yeah.
fucking want to. I mean, I'm just
Oh,
excited.
I'll be watching it.
It's the coolest new thing that happened to zombies since, I don't know, eating brains.
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing since sliced brains.
And they left it on a big cliffhanger. Like they're ready. Like shit just got real
Yeah.
in the kingdom,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited to see where that show goes next.
Black Earth Rising was a very intellectually interesting, emotionally interesting, but flawed series
Mhm.
that I don't think it needs to go to the top.
I don't think so either. It had some interesting questions about race and culture and identity, with all of those things, about a Rwandan genocide survivor
and
who was adopted by a very powerful white woman here in the U.S.
Or was it U.S. or was it? Yeah, I guess it was U.S.
Wait,
Or was she in?
maybe she was in England.
Yeah, because she's essentially a civil rights lawyer
Yeah.
trying to get justice, and like, what does that even mean? Like,
John Goodman threw me off because he doesn't try to put on an
Yeah.
accent or anything, and I think he
No.
might be American.
Yeah, he was either a State
Not sure.
Department or another civil rights lawyer from. But it like I said, it's very good. It just had.
Yeah.
They tried to put too much Bourne identity shit. There's too much like what we just talked about, and like the tension between holding people accountable for atrocities versus like, hey, no one held anyone accountable for atrocities during the American Revolution. Some of those men became the founding fathers who put America on the right track, and who are we to say what Rwanda can and can't do in their borders? Gets waylaid by crawling through ductworks and syringes full of knockout stuff. And
Yeah.
so like I said,
And I also thought the lead performance was maybe a little overacted in spots.
I have no idea how a childhood survivor of an atrocity.
Yeah.
I kept on going back, but it's something that I've never seen before.
It's very high intensity.
Yeah.
In a show that is that wavers between like very high intensity and very mellow,
Right.
Political.
It felt like
and personal
Chernobyl.
discussions.
If Chernobyl had decided that like what we really need to see is Jared Harris crawl through some ductworks and and plant bugs in Mikhail Gorbachev's office, and
Right.
yeah,
Those scripts just needed like one more pass with like I don't know, somebody to tone down the Jason.
yeah, it felt like
stuff.
they wanted to sexy it up and make it a little bit Jane Bond, and I don't know, that got in the way of what I was really interested in, which is all the geopolitics. But Umbrella Academy to the top.
I really
the
liked it. I had
middle.
zero expectation about Umbrella Academy going in, and I was really impressed. Like, it's not easy to hook me with new, unfamiliar
Cape shit.
superheroes. Yeah, cape shit. And this show did it.
I'm gonna not
watched
put it
the
to the
whole
top.
thing.
I'm not gonna put it to. I'm put it to the middle. Is
Okay.
that controversial? I don't
No,
think
no,
it's
no.
gonna get above True Detective. So,
Yeah. Well,
Love, Death, and Robots. You didn't watch.
I watched like 2 episodes of this.
Some of these things were amazing. This is very much like Eon Flux or like the Animatrix. Some of these were amazing, high concept, beautifully illustrated. Some of these were shitty.
Yeah, so this is like an anthology series of like short 15.
Yeah, it's like 20
minute-ish.
between 5 and 15-minute animated shorts.
Yeah. And they were all centered around essentially these 3 topics: love,
Yep.
death, and robots.
Yep.
And some of them were really good. Some of them were mediocre. I don't know. As a whole, I didn't think the thing was super impressive.
No, I don't think it needs to go to the top, but I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah.
Into the Dark Treehouse. So this was a legacy of our Bald Move TV project, where we're trying to watch a bunch of stuff and give maybe more shallow coverage to it. I think we ended up seeing 3 of these things. I felt like.
I remember the Jimmy Simpson one.
Was that Treehouse? I didn't think
That
it
was
was.
Treehouse.
That was Treehouse.
I thought that was Let me look it up.
This
Well,
very much felt like a kind of a creep show type project.
Yeah, so Into the Dark is the overall
Yes.
umbrella for all these things. And Treehouse is like that specific episode of the
Yes.
anthology.
Yes.
And it's an anthology horror series.
Yeah. And I think that roughly is wasn't that about around Jimmy's getting his like comeuppance for some Me Too shit?
Was it season 2? Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was very much like a female revenge story.
But
on
even
him
then, I
being
thought
a dickbag.
and that's going to be a criticism. I guess I launched at some of these shows that were kind of mediocre. Is they couldn't decide whether they wanted to be schlocky and entertaining or important and insightful, and they kind of. You're talking about important topics. The amount of waka waka you want going on in the background may be lower, but I don't know. On the other hand, maybe this is an entry point for some people, like being exposed to these ideas for the first time. So I shouldn't judge it too harshly. Either way, I'm not sending it to the top.
No, I only saw one of these, Treehouse.
Oh, Game of Thrones to the top, right? Right? Storied history of Game of Thrones.
Bottom? Is there an option to just leave it where it is and never speak of it again?
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to do this.
Yes, take it. Oh, you put it back on.
I'm willing to do that, and that's about it for Game of Thrones. It's currently in the top 10. We'll see how it fares.
Layla and Jin are kind of a pair in my mind because we did the Bald Move TV project. I saw one of each in the same week.
Layla is a dystopian 1984 kind of situation set in India, and it looked very fascinating.
Female work prison kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was really fucked up. And
water banditry, maybe.
Is a kind of dystopia that I've not really seen. It's the culture around that area of the world that I'm not familiar with at all.
Right, and it's a sci-fi version of that to boot. So I think I would have loved to have the time to watch all that. I didn't. I was impressed with what I saw. But Jin, on the other hand, felt like a very a Arab world Buffy the Vampire Slayer kind of level of which means it was very young adult. It's very cool. It had a lot of bizarre cultural things like urinating on people.
That happens. I'm going to say that happens all around the world.
But I've never seen
a universal experience.
I've never seen. I don't know. Maybe I've never seen on I've never seen on a basic cable a young adult show a ring of children pissing on another one. But I was just watching Kung Fu Hustle a couple weeks ago, and there's a big scene where a big ring of children go and piss on the very young 6-7-year-old hero. That happened here. It's a thing. You really want to disrespect people, you piss on them, and that's what Jin was doing. And only watched one episode.
Same here.
Not for me. Black Mirror Bandersnatch. Wait, did we decide that
came out December 28th?
Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here, Bandersnatch. I chose not to have you as an adventure. Chernobyl.
To the top.
To the fucking top.
Strong contender.
Blowing the top off the list like so many lead shields on a reactor building.
God, too soon.
Harlot Season 3.
What about this?
What if there was a Harlot Season 3 where Jessica, what's her name? Jessica Brown Finley did not abandon ship halfway through it, and they told the story I think they wanted to tell. I don't know. But this show still had some occasions, moments of greatness, still had some really cool character moments, but it just turned into a mess, and that's a bummer. Black Summer.
I will say that Chernobyl had the honor of knocking Game of Thrones out of the top 10 here.
There you go.
So
there you go. Black Summer. This is another zombie.
It is
series that tread a lot of Fear the Walking Dead ground. Mm-hmm. I was hoping it would be the version of Fear the Walking Dead that I wanted Fear the Walking Dead to be. It's not.
Do you watch any more of that show than
I think I watched another episode, maybe two, and and I'm not a huge zombie fan, and if you want original zombie fare, The Kingdom's where it's at.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want it specifically in like an modern urban setting, yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is like modern urban setting and zombies, like that's been done. I want to see medieval Korean zombies, yes.
Go watch
that deactivate during the sun. That was that was the big well, I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah. I mean, we're
all
gonna spoil
spoilers,
everything.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, you listen to the intro.
Yeah. You versus Wilds. This is Bandersnatch Part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, this is trying desperately to kill Bear Grylls and being denied at every corner.
If you can't kill him, can you at least give him dysentery?
Right. You do get the pleasure of watching him eat really disgusting things.
I also like the sparkle in his eye as he looked in the camera and saying, "Oh, you wanted me to do this obviously dangerous bad thing." Like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I like Bear Grylls a lot. This was fun for me. It's a toy. This is like what they're doing with this choose your own adventure stuff is very much what it feels like the state of VR. Like it's a cool, impressive demo. There's yet to be a killer app for it.
I agree.
All right. The Witcher, to the top.
To the top. I haven't seen any of that.
To the top. That is a great. It is so you can't get a different as far different from Chernobyl as The Witcher does. The only thing they have in common is they're set in Eastern Europe.
All right.
But otherwise, they're night and day. But man, The Witcher was a lot of fun and better than it had the right to be. His Dark Materials. I watched all of this.
Did you?
And I don't have any particular love for the original source material. I wanted to like it because its reputation is kind of like a young adult fiction for like a secular humanist atheist bent.
Yeah.
And like encouraging independent thinking and whatnot. And it had some really good performances and some good casting. It also had some god-awful casting. Like whoever thought that Lin-Manuel Miranda should be this drawling kind of cowboy, gunfighter, aeronaut figure. That's just casting malpractice. And I really like Lin-Manuel. And it's just kind of bland. They also like the world is fascinating, but they did not build it nearly enough. Like I had important questions about what the fuck is dust, how the relationship between people and their demons, that I thought I would get answers in season 1. I did not get any of those answers. So there's full coverage on Bald Move, courtesy of Cecily and Alexis. But it should be higher than this, but
top 10?
I can't imagine it's going to get in the top 10.
Okay, well, we'll leave it where it is.
We'll see. You know what? I'm gonna put it right underneath. I'm gonna put it above Game of Thrones. It deserves that.
Okay, that'll be the bar.
Yeah,
above
anything
or below
that's
Game
worth.
of Thrones.
Yeah. Is there any? I'm trying to think of did I leave? Is anything else? Nope. I'm pretty fine. Maybe Layla. Layla, absolutely better than Game of Thrones.
Harlots?
Yeah, fuck yeah, it was better than Game of Thrones. It wasn't a showrunner malpractice.
Bear Grylls eating a grub
if
worm?
Emilia Clarke and Kit Harington had bowed out of season 8, maybe I give the Double D's a pass.
How about Bear Grylls knee deep in swamp mud, worry about sinking while he's eating a grub?
He cared more about his show than the Double D's did theirs.
Absolutely
Better than Game of Thrones.
He gave mind, body, and soul to that show.
Okay. Ooh, Dark season 2. Have you seen any of Dark yet?
Yeah. I've seen the first episode 3 times now.
Okay, that tracks.
Because I watch it, I go, okay, interesting. They're doing some interesting stuff here, and I never go back to it. And then a year later, I'm like, man, I should really try Dark. Everybody says it's good. I do the same thing again. And I've done it 3 times now.
This show is made to destroy people who attempt to background watch it. And that's how I approached it the first couple times. I'm like, I'm going to see if I get into it. And then I look up and I'm like, holy shit, this kid's strapped to some kind of leather copper machine and time's being distorted. I should have paid more attention to this.
Well, that's the part I want to get to, but but it doesn't grip me immediately.
Yeah.
There's something about the tone of it that I'm just like, this requires an investment of myself. Like,
yes.
I need to give myself over to this show and be willing to feel everything it wants me to feel.
Yeah.
And if I'm not 100% committed to that, it's not worth doing.
Yeah, and I've
just never been in that state.
Subtitles or the American dub, which is what I chose. But man, there's a lot of just very, very poor vocal work, very flat performances
with
that. But yeah, it starts off kind of like an older teen angsty Stranger Things, and then it goes really kind of Twin Peaks, time travel, weird.
So I hear.
And then at the end of season 1, I'm like, there's no fucking way they can possibly fold this thing back into something that is going to complete a circle, but I kind of want to see if they can. Yeah. They are juggling so many characters and paradoxes and time periods and realities. and it's also so grounded and mundane. It's
You saw the first episode of season 2, the first couple.
Yeah, first couple. And I had to. Thank God there was. Thank God there was a last time on, because I had forgotten a lot of what had happened on season 2, and also because you're dealing with multiple characters at different ages. It's very hard for me to stitch all the faces together, and sometimes that'll click, and I'm like, "Oh fuck, that's the guy who's also his father that knew his grandfather," and then it kind of like it comes together. But it's not an easy watch, but
no,
it's like a 13-hour long. What was that time travel movie that you made me watch? I was trying Primer. It's like a 13-hour long German language primer.
Yeah, I tend to gravitate toward easier to watch things in my free time.
Yeah, it's challenging. I would like to get through season 2 before season 3, because this
better or worse than Game of Thrones.
I haven't seen season 2. I've heard if you like season 1, season 2 is even more amazing. So it's definitely better. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna go right there, even though I haven't seen it, and that won't stand. Okay, do season 3 to the top.
To the top.
Is this controversial? How about the boys?
To the top.
How about Terror Infamy?
No.
All right, we'll return to that. The Terror Infamy. We did not see it all. I was so excited for this. I was
3 episodes?
So hungry for this.
Because the Terror, the first season, was awesome.
It fucked up the Baldies. Got a lot of actor notice. It got a lot of best drama attention in that year of the Baldies. And I hear like, oh man, Japanese internment camps, some kind of like supernatural horror with Eastern roots. Seems like a very timely thing with all the detainment camp shit that we got going on in the United States right now. George Takei, I'm in it, but
George Takei was barely in it.
And it just felt like it took a long time for this thing. Like I watched at least 3 episodes, and I still felt like the show was doing a lot of throat clearing and not quite got to the point.
It didn't have the same. They, in my opinion, they started too early with the horror stuff. It was too overt. In the Terror, the original Terror, it was all about the threat of
dread,
horror. Like it wasn't. They didn't show you the monster day one.
Yeah.
In this, they show you the fucking monster right away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not the Terror to me. That's some other horror thing.
Yeah, and I think that maybe if I put my own biases on display, that the horror of being in like the frozen wasteland and kind of like the terror of that and how it's kind of unnerving was easy for me to access. Then I think the same kind of growing. You're right, they screwed up and had the supernatural stuff front and center. But I also think it was a little bit hard for me to access just kind of the slowly the slow horror of realizing the community that you've lived in is turning against you.
Yeah.
Because I've never been like an outsider that way. So maybe that's one of the reasons I wasn't able to access it. And that's a problem with me. But yeah, to show like I'm going to assume that it's at least better than Game of Thrones. Didn't get a lot of press either. Not a lot of. I was kind of looking for. It didn't make anybody's best lists that I saw.
Whereas the original Terror definitely
did. The Mandalorian is not a to the top, the middle.
Yeah, it's better than Game of Thrones. I like The Mandalorian, but it is just. I mean, it's popcorn. It's not. To
I
be
doubt
taken
it makes
seriously.
The top 10. It's already at 9. It's already at 9 with me to the middling it. So, and that's not to say it's bad.
No, it's fine.
Yes, it's fine.
Like it feels very Star Wars.
It's very Star Wars.
The best thing I can say about it.
It's watching with my son was one of the better moments of 2019.
And I like everyone who's ever watched this show lost my mind over Baby Yoda and how cute it was.
Very cute. Have you finished it yet?
Yeah, we watched the whole thing.
Okay, because I haven't. I'm still because my son's been super busy with swimming and like we're.
You're on the last episode though.
Like I think I got 2 more to go.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm waiting for him to have time to watch it with me.
Yeah,
because he's too busy for his old man. Swim's done after this weekend, so we'll probably get around to it. Okay, where were we? The Expanse season 4.
To the top?
Okay. Expanse season 4, Watchmen, Mr. Robot, Stranger Things, to the top with them all.
Yeah. I don't know if Stranger Things will stay there, but
Yeah. Okay.
But to the top is where they all belong.
All right. I think we now have things roughly sorted into the cream versus the not cream, with Game of Thrones being that not cream line.
Yeah.
Is there anything
There
below?
was not a lot of not cream then.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right.
Damn. I would say things start to get less creamy around 13 for me. Like, The Mandalorian is where the cream and what's the other part? The butter? The
milk.
Wait, the cream comes out of the milk, right?
Well, it all comes out of the cow. I mean, come on,
yeah,
man.
but it separates at some point, and you got the cream, and then what do you have left?
It's got to be milk.
But isn't the cream part of the milk?
I mean, I think so. But it's like
I clearly
it's not water.
Need to go to a farm and figure this shit out tomorrow.
We need to milk a cow, put it in a centrifuge, see what happens.
Yeah. So 13 is about where things get start to.
Okay.
I haven't seen it, or it gets.
13 is right where you
bad.
start considering things for serious consideration.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. You want to start at the top? I think we should start at the top. Is The Expanse better than Watchmen? I say no, but The Expanse is very, very, very good.
Those are both very good shows. Watchmen, I think Watchmen is more daring from a filmmaking perspective. Watchmen is more daring from a subject matter perspective. The Expanse executes at such a high level so consistently.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Watchmen does stumble occasionally.
Yeah. Well, you had
and that's just my personal opinion.
Like episode 6 of The Watchmen, I think that was the one where the Sister Knight got hooked up to an elephant.
Yeah. I was down on it then.
Yeah.
But then the very next episode, they come back with Angela going into the memories of her grandfather, and I'm like, fuck, yeah, they nailed this.
I think the order of that is reversed, but
something like that. But the next episode, they do the Dr. Manhattan episode, which I thought was beautifully structured.
Yes.
An incredibly written episode of television.
Yeah.
And Expanse never hits those highs.
Yeah.
Of the best of Watchmen, but it does deliver consistently better than the worst of Watchmen, in my opinion.
Okay.
So they're really hard to judge.
So like a lot of times when I'm kind of like I have personal affection, I try to let like importance.
Yeah.
But there's certainly things that are important about The Expanse that are trying to get about, as far as like asymmetric warfare, economic fairness, and they're making it a lot more like the biggest problems with Watchmen is the people that needed to watch Watchmen were turned off by how in your face its message was. But on the other hand, like the people that had were open to receiving that message, I think we all learned a lot, and it's going to probably help us I don't know, in some kind of weird cultural diplomacy and the cultural wars to come. I think and also I think the degree of difficulty of what Watchmen was doing, where it tried to be as important and as original as the original Watchmen, those things make it, to me, easy to put above The Expanse.
I agree with that.
So I'm going to do that. Also, music better than Expanse.
Yeah.
Expanse is okay.
Reznor and Ang Lee. What's his fucking name?
Reznor and who?
Atticus Ross.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those guys did a fantastic job on the soundtrack.
Expanse music kind of forgettable. Like they've got the military space music. They've got the awe-inspiring proto-molecule space music. Mm-hmm. And then they got kind of like the melancholy. What's we're looking at James Holden's Sad Eyes music, but I couldn't hum any of those tunes.
Right, same here.
Whereas God,
but Watchmen, I remember the cow scene from the first episode.
And like when Angela would get all kitted up as Sister Knight and hit the streets, like that synth bass kicking in. Real good. Mr. Robot. And it's so. Are we okay?
Damn.
Are we judging Mr. Robot on its body of work, or are we judging Mr. Robot on its final season?
I mean, I gotta judge it on the season, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm.
Because there were some high highs.
I mean, Mr. Robot has approached mental illness and mental health in a way that I've never seen. Period. Television, film, anything. And maybe I'm not watching the right shows, but and it, say what you will about some of its economic policy commentary or its
lack thereof,
or its sci-fi or its lack thereof. It always was really able to ground itself in that mental illness foundation, and I think when it nailed it, like, god damn, that episode in Krista's house,
the
with
bottle
Vera
episode,
and Krista, and it was just it was a stage play-esque episode of television that was a bottle episode and had incredible performances across the board.
Yeah,
I mean,
as a platform,
people that I think should get Emmy awards just on that episode alone. Like the dude who plays Vera, I can't remember, his Elliot something. Like his name's Elliot, which is funny.
Right.
He does such an amazing job, and he took a character who I thought was sort of laughable, and had no business being in this season, and made him essential. And it was yes, on the back of the writing, but also on the back of that performance. And you needed every person in that episode to just do their job better than you've ever seen anyone do their job.
Elliot Villar is the gentleman we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, as a platform to get amazing performances out of like Rami Malek and BD Wong, there's nothing better. And yeah, I really like it, but to me, it can't get over the expanse of The Watchmen.
I will say, I think it's, man, I think the highs of Mr. Robot are higher than the highs of The Expanse, certainly. I think.
Okay, especially if you're just talking like Actors Workshop kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, they're with very few exceptions. Like there's an Amos scene with Murtry that is fucking outstanding.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the writing and not Cass Anvar, that's Alex.
Wes Chatham.
Wes Chatham's performance in that scene where it's just so delicious.
Yeah.
But Mr. Robot is doing heavy shit and nailing it, executing at a level that I'm thoroughly impressed by. And I will say that I had more fun this season in a season of hell watching Mr. Robot than I did Watchmen, certainly. I looked forward to watching Mr. Robot each week. I, at points, was dreading watching Watchmen because I knew that there was a little bit of tomfoolery that Lindelof and crew could get up to that I didn't like. And if they went too far in that direction, I was going to be disappointed in the episode.
I think you and I are the exact same place, but maybe I feel about Watchmen that way than you felt about Mr. Robot.
Right. You were constantly annoyed with some of the things that Mr. Robot did that I just sort of swept under the rug. And I acknowledge our problems, but did not ruin my enjoyment of them as much as
it did. I wouldn't say it ruined my enjoyment of it. It's just like I'm just a little bit less hot on Mr. Robot than you are Watchmen. I'm surprised that you're saying you liked it more than maybe you're not saying you liked it more than The Expanse.
I'm not saying I enjoyed watching it more than The Expanse, because The Expanse is eminently watchable. You can sit down and you can,
it's
say what you want about
watchable. Like every fucking episode is a cliffhanger this goddamn season.
It absolutely is, and I know that pulled you through many episodes because I would be like, oh, what episode are you on? Are you gonna get to this part or whatever by this point? And you were like, oh, I probably won't get to it.
I don't have time.
By next week, I don't have time. And you'd come in the next day and you'd be like, I watched the rest of them.
Yeah, I'm done. I watched five. I sat down to watch an episode for dinner, and I ended up staying up till 1 o'clock and watching the whole thing.
I watched 6 of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, compulsively watchable is correct. Does that make it better than Mr. Robot?
The thing is, the other thing about Mr. Robot, I'll put another feather in Mr. Robot's cap. They promised a twist that was teased from the beginning that would blow our minds, and they fucking delivered. Like, I haven't gone back and checked all the homework, but the early returns are that, like, the twist they have, the central twist that they deployed on us this season was there from the beginning, and it made perfect sense in retrospect, and that's a very rare it's twists go from season to season, but for the first time, I truly believe that because I had the whole thing in front of me. I believe what Sam Esmail has been saying, that he's had this all planned out from the beginning. Because I don't see how any other way you could do that and have all those things embedded. That I don't think he had everything figured out.
Yeah.
But the 2 or 3 things he was trying to do, he had figured out from the beginning.
And it was something that certain people had predicted and seen coming, but the fandom at large had not latched onto as, this is obviously the thing.
Was it really? Because I don't even remember that being the case.
A couple of people, were like, I predicted this back in season 3 or whatever.
Interesting.
But everybody was kind of like, I don't know about that theory.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, oh shit, you've uncovered the secret, and now we're all on board with this,
right.
which was hilarious because all of the ones that like people did latch onto ended up not being the thing.
Yeah.
And that's rare. That's rare. And you look at Watchmen, and you look at Mr. Robot in that regard. Those are night and day, because Watchmen was figured out from the jump.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that was the leaks from screeners or whether that was like just people deducing things. But that show was not a surprise in any way when it came to its plot, unfortunately. And I think that diminished my enjoyment of it, because Mr. Robot, I was constantly looking at the next question saying, what are they doing here? What's going to be the reveal? And I never felt like I got everything I needed to get out of it.
I thought that one of the things I thought Damon Lindelof innovated in The Watchmen is he had this really elegant structure where most of his like surprises had like a 3-episode arc. So right as people were like, I know that this is where the season is getting at, like that was like on episode 2, episode 3 would reveal it, and like, oh well shit, there's 6 more episodes left. Now there was the one thing that got, and I'm with you. I don't know if that was screeners. I don't know if it was just like a fluke of someone getting a magnifying glass on the cover of Entertainment Weekly and looking at knuckle patterns. But
yeah, the Dr. Manhattan reveal was.
But it also even saying that, they got the basic fact right, but they had no idea about how that would relate to the larger plot. So I still think that his thing of like, I'm going to build a mystery, but I'm going to reveal it in like every 3 episodes and then change the game is much smarter. And I'm hoping Lisa Joy and is it Jonathan Nolan? Jonathan Nolan is taking notes, because that's, if you want to do a mystery box in a modern internet age, that's what it looks like, because you need to establish a mystery, and by the time the internet figures it out, you need to go ahead and put that card on the table and then reveal the fact you got 2 more up your sleeve. You cannot lay hints, and I don't think he did. I don't think there was any hint in the first 3, 4, 5 episodes of what the eventual reveal of Dr. Manhattan's identity. I don't think he did that. It was extra. It was material outside of the show that was brought in to sleuth that. And that if you're being charitable about it. So,
man, the more I look at Mr. Robot compared to The Expanse, the more I have to give it to Mr. Robot, just for its audacity and its willingness to experiment. Like, because I forgot this is a season full of those kind of big stunts that worked,
and cinematography too. Just it's the whole every frame of painting thing.
I mean, The Expanse by those standards is fucking safe. Like, it doesn't do anything
it's
really
very
audacious and interesting. It's just like, it's an excellently executed sci-fi political thriller.
And I don't want to give the visuals on The Expanse short shrift. Like, there's a lot of like space work that's as good as anything I saw in Gravity. There was like the alien vistas, their choice of location shooting was amazing. The internal geography of some of the proto-molecule machinery that we got to explore this season, something I've never seen before. But if you just want to talk like in a Stanley Kubrick, just purely visual storytelling, Mr. Robot had it. So I
think it edges it out.
If you're saying you want to put this over Expanse, I think I'm ready to.
Okay, I think it barely edges it out, because The Expanse also has the thing that Mr. Robot lacks, which is deep, nuanced political and sociological discussions.
Yeah.
Which Mr. Robot is incapable of having, because it simply does not understand them well enough.
I believe that's true, yeah.
God damn, The Expanse gets societies and how they operate.
Yeah, and how they dysfunction.
Yes.
Which is unfortunately standard operating procedure for a lot of society. Stranger Things 3. I'm fine with where it's at right now. This was a great season.
Okay. Yep.
They're navigating these kids, turning the curve between kids to teenagers extraordinarily well. They've still got the 80s nostalgia, the It's honestly a trip to think about how mall culture was so disposable. Like it was the peak of Western
Yeah.
American culture in the 80s, and now it is like literal ghost towns. There's a
Yeah.
mall that has like one store open in northern Cincinnati that is a fucking ghost town.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the stores are closed. You can walk through the aisles. The hallway lights are flickering. There's ceilings have collapsed from water damage.
I mean, they're setting up like homeless shelters and hydroponic
No, of
grow
course
ops
not.
and shit
Not.
like that.
No. This is just a giant indoor air conditioned space that they're making no commercial. They're making no valuable use to. It's there's a lot of like weird. There's a lot of interesting commentating about like how the Cold War had kind of warped our relationship with certain economic policies and stuff. I think it's great. It's just not going to be able to get over the hump of these next three, and it might even fall.
No, I mean these are mammoths of entertainment.
Great cliffhanger too. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that works out.
Yeah.
Apparently, part of the Expanse, or part of Stranger Things 4 is going to be Hopper becoming a Soviet superhero.
Oh yeah.
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
A mutant.
Yeah,
Is he
something
gonna get
like that.
mutated?
Yeah, he's going to team up with Black Widow.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say what's his name? Red Skeleton.
Red Skeleton?
No, what's the
Red
skeleton
Skull?
Red Skull?
Yeah.
Team with the Red Skull.
The Deuce season 3. Okay, here's Stranger Things first big hurdle. The Deuce season 3 is way better than Stranger Things.
I mean, effortlessly.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't know that anybody actually wrote the Deuce. I feel like they just took a camera back in time.
This is Simon and Pelicanos's curse. What they do with character and story is so fucking effortless, and they make it look so easy that like you don't notice that it's a trick.
Yeah.
Their sleight of hand is too good. Like,
And that goes down to even when they're overtly doing sleight of hand, which is like putting two twins played by the same guy on the same screen at the same time.
you totally forget.
Even that doesn't look like anything happened.
No. There's like a lot of showy special effects work happening, and you don't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that you're walking through 1980s Manhattan is a special effect that like you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
The fact that this show skips forward 5 to 10 years in between seasons, and you never lose like the thread, and it never feels like, oh, these people were just put like in cryo sleep to be woken up. They feel like they've had a lived experience that tracks both with what you know and what you're about to discover about them. And it also is a really great way to give it definitely has its own point of view, but I feel like that I think about that debate that Maggie Gyllenhaal's Eileen/Candy character had with, I think you're supposed to understand, is the stand-in for the feminist Dworkin. The debate about prostitution and pornography and its effects on women.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what side Deuce is on, but man, they really give the Steelman version of the other side's argument.
Yeah, they give voice to a lot of different opinions.
Yeah,
and
a good
feelings on
voice,
that.
not like a straw man that you can dismiss and walk, but something that really makes you and the characters think about.
Yeah, it's living at the crossroads of the tough decisions that we have to make as a society. In regards to those topics,
it gives brutal gut punches. It's hilarious in parts. Man, it's a great show. My argument, I kind of want to raise it I think it should keep going. I think it's better than The Expanse. Because this was one of the other shows, as hard as we worked at, I was always up for. I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see the next Deuce.
Yeah. Man, I love The Expanse, but I'm kind of thinking, it needs to go up. I mean, because The Expanse doesn't do, the same kinds of things that The Deuce does, but they're both effortlessly watchable.
Well, the other thing is, by that metric, I was denied that metric on The Expanse because it dropped all at once. I could watch as many as I wanted. I didn't have any time to look forward to something. Same thing with Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, drag that horse out and beat its bones, but
that's not the criteria by which we're judging. But
no. But I think
it
some
affects
of these
the experience.
Some of these weekly shows are inherently more memorable than the ones that just dropped, and that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of The Boys,
this was a surprise. I didn't know anything about The Boys. It just dropped, and we covered it on Ball Move TV for an episode or something. And I ended up watching the entire damn thing in my own time.
It has a lot of DNA it shares with The Watchmen. It's a superhero deconstruction, but very modern one. Like it's just the way the Watchmen series was.
I mean, the premise is, what if superheroes were actually bad guys?
Yes.
They're flipping the superhero idea on its head, and superheroes are just all supervillains.
Right. And I don't know if that's because it's inherently that, or if it's absolute power corrupts, or if it's because the marketing and the money machine that gets attached to these guys are, because that's the other thing is, like, imagine like the Marvel film and comic book and video game and toy empire exists, but the heroes are also real.
And they're the ones who are also directly benefiting from all of that.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's an inherently interesting concept.
And it does have the fish out of water, new superhero inducted into what she thinks is this righteous organization, and she's kind of, our proxy into this underworld here. Yeah,
and are we going? It's that's one of the things I guess going forward, because I don't know. Like I'm pretty sure this is getting a season 2. I don't know how long they plan, but it's going to be interesting to see if is it Starlight? Is that her name?
Sounds right.
Something like that. If is this a story of like a Mr. Chips to Scarface, or is this a story of someone standing tall?
Yeah.
Despite all the pressure to not do that. So yeah,
it was really good. It's also very edgy. It's like
very fucking.
I mean,
violent,
from the jump,
exploitative on a violence and sexual level. Yeah,
which I appreciate.
Sure, I love that shit. So I'm pretty cool with it being right there, though. I don't know. Is there an argument? Okay, I'm gonna make an argument that I don't necessarily feel is better than Stranger Things 3.
I mean, I'd have to hear the argument.
The argument of Stranger Things 3 is very safe, and it's very...
is Stranger Things getting long in the tooth?
It's very evolutionary, not revolutionary at this point. And The Boys was... does it win just because it's a breath of fresh air?
If we did that, it would certainly stop at The Expanse.
Agreed. But I don't know if I totally buy it, because Stranger Things is really good, and I don't know that I cared about any of the characters on The Boys getting terrible things done to like I did to... Was it Vasily? Who is a little Russian-speaking nerd that befriended Brett... the conspiratorial journalist guy.
One of the cherry big gulp Slurpee, whatever it was.
That
was great. I really...
And he's not even a main character. They also generated a huge amount of emotion from Hopper's cliffhanger.
That's true. I really loved the Steve stuff this season.
So do you wish that they had resisted the urge to reveal that there is in fact a cliffhanger? Because I feel like
that after
credit sequence immediately dissipated all of the tension that I think would already been dissipated, because I think there had been a lot of speculation that that like, oh, did Hop survive?
Yeah, and there still is some speculation about who the American might be, but like, come on, it's probably Hopper.
Yeah. So I don't know. I sometimes wish they hadn't done that, because that felt like it immediately robbed all of the previous emotional tension and good stuff that they were doing with that. But I don't know. So what do you think? All said and done, Boys better than Stranger Things, or no?
I'll say I never looked at Stranger Things and found anything to be just blatantly ridiculous. There were a couple of moments like that in The Boys.
Really? Like what?
I'm trying to think. It was around like the baby and the Superman analog,
Elizabeth Shue and
when
Homelander.
When Homelander goes and like takes this baby, and like threatening the baby was interesting and edgy and cool, but like there was something around that I'm struggling to remember. When did The Boys come out? It was like January last year. It was early.
No, I think it was in the dead of summer.
Was it really?
Yeah, I think so.
My perception of time is distorted.
I think I actually really like the kind of psychosexual mother-son dynamics going on between Elizabeth Shue and Homelander.
Yes. I liked a lot of that. There was something very specific that I was
like how do you control Superman?
Yeah.
And she found an answer that worked until it didn't.
And Stranger Things had a couple of missteps. I felt like they went too far with Erica being the comedy relief. They very similar to like your argument about like when
right.
Brent Spiner in Generations.
Yeah.
They unleash him to get funny with it.
Yeah, Erica the sass machine.
It was a little too much for me at points, but like
she's also little sister, and I had one.
Yeah, you might know.
But no, I think you're right. There was a little, but not as much as I feared from some of the trailers. But yeah, there was a little bit of.
So Stranger Things 3 was not perfect, but
because you could also argue that was paying homage to all those, because that was always the pain in the ass little sister was always a big thing in the 80s kids entertainment.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with where Boys is.
Okay,
I would say if they come back with the season 2 that's as good as, or stronger than what they did in season 1, we'll be having a more vibrant discussion about it next year. But
oh boy, The Witcher.
I haven't seen this.
This Witcher is really well made and fun, trashy entertainment that is far better produced and acted than it has any right to be. I don't know how it's like. It doesn't take itself as serious as Game of Thrones. It's more overtly fantasy. But like when I watched this, I immediately thought I need to get busy playing The Witcher 3 because I love this world and I love this character. And if it's anything like that is in a video game, I'm going to love it. And consequently, I'm 30 plus hours into The Witcher 3 right now.
Yeah.
But if it rises higher, I don't think it can rise higher than Stranger Things. I even think that even that feels a little inappropriate.
Okay.
But I don't know. The other thing is I watched The Witcher purely as a fan. I would never anticipated like doing a podcast on it. I eventually did with Cecily and Alexis. But like, so there's a couple things where like, they do some weird interleave timelines without telling you about it. Kind of very similar to Westworld Season 1, Westworld Season 2. That I might have bitched about if I was doing an episode by episode coverage, but it's kind of fun to just kind of like have that realization of what they were doing hit me and like, oh. Whereas, if I was covering it, people would have been like, well, I know that Ciri's actual age is this, and they would have pointed all that out, and it wouldn't have been a surprise. So
yeah,
it's a lot of fun to watch. And I can't wait for season 2. But I think it's right where it needs to be.
People
are
losing their minds about it. People love it.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's got some staying power. I think it's because
memed about everywhere.
It's been adopted as like a surrogate object of passion by the Game of Thrones fans.
Okay.
It's been it had an established video game franchise fandom. It had established novel franchise fandom. You already had that. There's people waiting for like, hey, if it's a good Witcher, we'll get behind it. And then people like homeless, rootless, fanless Game of Thrones fans looking for a new franchise. It's
from what I saw of both my wife playing the Witcher game and watching the show.
Yeah,
Henry Cavill did an amazing job as Geralt.
He is Gerald, as I like to call
Gerald?
him. No, that's I make fun of him by just saying that. He is. He's
his voice is spot on. I couldn't believe it when
everything
I heard him.
About the way he plays the Witcher as like variously annoyed and amused with everything that's going on until he's just like over the shit and he starts cutting people in half. Yeah, I liked it. Plus, it's like I've always liked Henry Cavill. Mm-hmm. And I thought he would make a good Superman if someone had given him a good Superman to be in. And I really liked him in the Mission Impossible I saw him in. I want to see A Man from U.N.C.L.E. because I've heard that's a really good kind of a James Bond. But I haven't seen him in anything I really liked, and I finally have seen him in something where I actually like him. So good for you. He seems to be having a good time with it too. He seems like an unironic Witcher fan.
Yeah.
He purports to be anyway. Okay. Chernobyl, oh boy. Better than Witcher, better than Boys, better than Stranger Things.
Where do we need to start talking about?
Better than The Expanse, better than The Deuce.
Whoa.
That's this. Better than Mr. Robot?
I think we need to put it at 5, and you need to explain yourself because Chernobyl's awesome.
Chernobyl's awesome. It's a 5-episode miniseries. It was done.
And it's, based on real life events.
Based on real life events. Didn't color nearly as outside the lines as it could have.
Did actually some smart compression of things into characters and scenes that would have been very difficult to film otherwise.
What's my argument for putting it above The Expanse? It's more important, I guess, is the only thing, because I think that there is some things that grappling with in Chernobyl that it's so funny because I think that the producer of this, Craig Mazin, I think he intended this to be a little bit of a anti-socialist propaganda piece. And it did like, and if you've listened to my 3 Right Turns podcast, like, I'm not a socialist. But I don't think it worked on me, because, like, to me, all the failures I saw on display here, I have seen happen in boardrooms in the United States.
Yeah, it's called corruption, not socialism.
It's corruption. It's not respecting science. Yeah. It's not respecting expert opinion. It's being stubborn and clinging to ideology in the face of fact. And I see that in full-on display in 21st century America. So the fact that the Soviet Union was dysfunctional at the end of its life and let all this shit happen, it does not make me sleep soundly at night about what 21st century America may or may not do in the years to come and the years we've already had. So I thought those conversations were some of the most fun I've had doing coverage on Bald Move. And I would say Chernobyl is able to create suspense, intense suspense and dread where there shouldn't really be any. Because you know what's going to happen.
Because you know the outcome of this.
Yeah.
You know that it was contained. You know that a certain amount of people died. You know who died. Like, we knew going into this, we had read enough to know, like, many of these main characters die. These are death sentences. And that played in its favor in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Where you see people doing their job in the face of certain death.
Yeah.
And as an audience member, it's 100% certain, because
Sure.
I know that those people are dead. And not of old age. So, it was affecting.
Yeah,
it was really
also because that also made a lot of the heroism. Because, like, maybe the first responders didn't know exactly what they're dealing with.
Those firefighters probably didn't.
But
know.
once you get in episode 2 and 3, people, when they were ordered to do things, they're like, and it actually turns out that it's crazy how many people survived. Like, for example, those workers that had to go wading into the radiated water to turn on a water pump to keep half the continent from dying. All 3 of those guys didn't die.
Yeah. Weird.
And like the miners, the survivability of miners is higher than you would expect. But still, a lot of those people die. A lot of those people got cancer.
And a lot of people who had to stick around that area to oversee the operations, they died of cancer.
But that made those I think more inspirational. And there's like, I saw a lot of things about that culture that horrified me, but the sense of community responsibility over individual success and health and longevity. I don't know why that to me, that's like a basic kind of a human thing that, like, we're all a bunch of selfish assholes, but like when shit really is down, you'll have people volunteer to give their lives to save potentially thousands of others. And I thought that was pretty moving, inspiring. And just, the fact that people are willing to sacrifice their lives and their careers to tell truth to power is what, I guess gives me hope. So I guess that's the argument for why it should be maybe higher than The Expanse, because The Expanse does touch on some important topics too, but I just don't think it's important. But on the other hand,
it's not as close of an examination of those topics,
right,
as Chernobyl gave to things that it was doing.
Yeah, and the music, I forget the name of the I think she's like Norwegian composer that just there's like this lunar horrific soundscape that she paints to have these like just hellish like I remember the first time like looking into the burning reactor, like that felt like you're looking into the eye of fucking Sauron or something. and the note she played as like kids are playing in radioactive snow, and yeah, I don't know. I really like it, but like this top 5 is a murderer's row, man.
It is. Yeah, I feel like it's a nuance that's going to push any of these above or below the others.
Yeah,
I like Expanse. Like I've always tried to weight entertainment, maybe not as heavily as importance, but certainly like consider that, because The Expanse is endlessly entertaining.
Sure,
like,
on multi levels.
Yeah, I can watch through that basically easier than any other show on this list.
If I had to pick one to rewatch right now, it'd be The Expanse season 4.
Yeah. So, like, I don't want to discount just how entertaining it is.
Well, here's the other thing is, like...
It's partially what I'm in TV for.
I like everything in the top 4 better than Chernobyl, with the exception of Mr. Robot. I like Chernobyl more than Mr. Robot, but what Mr. Robot did was a higher degree of difficulty, and it executed very well. And the performances, as much as I like the performances in Chernobyl, they're playing these Soviets who are kind of buttoned down and, very grim and not overly demonstrative, and they did what they needed to do.
I also want to say it's a lower bar of difficulty to do what Chernobyl did than what Mr. Robot did, simply because Mr. Robot is entirely fiction.
Yes.
And Chernobyl is based on real life events, just catastrophic, mind-blowing events that almost write themselves into a what the fuck kind of story.
Yeah, but even there's a lot of smart adaptation. Consolidating characters, having composite characters. I think the most outlandish or the most least factual episode is the last one where they did the trial. That's almost entirely fictitious.
It is,
but it does a wonderful job of like explaining. It's a bad depiction of the actual trial. It's a wonderful depiction of the actual tragedy and who all was involved and responsible for it.
It was crazy to me that they left the central question of how did this reactor explode to the last episode to even answer it. Mm-hmm. You would think in a series like this that you would want to do that immediately.
Right.
Just so the audience was grounded in that. But they didn't. They let you sort of ground in the horror of the thing.
Yeah, I mean, this thing essentially begins like within 3 minutes of the first episode with Chernobyl exploding.
Yeah,
and
the characters in the show are as baffled about the reason as we would be if we didn't know anything about the reactor.
Yeah, no. So I thought it was great.
I don't know. I'm torn between The Expanse and Chernobyl here. Yeah, I guess what I'm really torn about is The Expanse, the Chernobyl, and the Deuce. Like where does the Deuce really belong where it's at? I don't know.
We want to keep going and we'll see, because it's like also we're arranging the deck chairs and we haven't even got the Titanic sunk.
Let's sink it.
I don't know what that means. Kingdom. I like the Kingdom better
not as important as any of these, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but I like it better than even Stranger Things. I think I would put it above Stranger Things, and that's where it's going to have to stop.
Yep.
Because as good as this,
I agree.
As good as this very gorgeous, interesting take on medieval zombie it's still, that's pretty fucking pulp, and it's hard to get over that. So
can we say that? I think The Expanse was the best pulp show this year.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, Watchmen's pretty fucking pulpy too.
Yeah, but not in its themes. Like it's grasping like at very, very heady, very important topics.
Yeah.
And yes, it's pulp as fuck in its presentation, but like, yeah.
Let's talk about True Detective. Oh, Jesus, True Detective season 3, man.
I know.
So good.
Our top 10 is going to be excellent this year.
Talking about, because you talked about like mental illness. This was a mental illness. Yeah. This is like, well, I guess it is. Dementia is a mental illness.
It's a disease, yeah.
But this is one of the most effective and successful interleaved timeline shows I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they never was tricksy about it. I think people expected it to be. If there's ever a True Detective season 4, this is my reaction to everybody looking for supernatural, time travel, anything. It's just never going to happen. That's not the show he's making. There's always going to be a threat of that, because he's always dealing with something that's mysterious, and and interesting like that, but it's never going. It's always going to be Scooby Doo. You're always going to pull a mask off, and it's old man, smiley.
Wait until you get a load of the Chartreuse King. You'll change your tune real fast.
True Detective season 3 is absolutely better than The Witcher. The Boys. Tell me when you start to get uncomfortable. Stranger Things, Kingdom, Chernobyl, Expanse, The Deuce.
I'm now uncomfortable.
Me too.
If it gets above 3, I start to feel uncomfortable.
Let me see how this looks. True Detective season 3 on top of The Deuce season 3.
I don't like both of those starting with T and D.
Actually, now that I've looked at it here, I like. This is what makes me feel good. So I just put. The Deuce is number 3. True Detective is number 4. With Expanse nipping its heels at 5. I mean,
personally, I feel stronger about. Yeah, what the fucking Expanse. I feel pretty strongly about the Expanse, but I'm trying to suss out in my own heart whether that is because I think the Expanse has not gotten the attention it deserves, and therefore I want to put it higher on this list so it'll make a bigger splash with our audience who may not have checked it out yet. Or if I genuinely think that the Expanse is important. Yeah,
agenda.
This is me trying to get at my own biases here.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Did the Expanse single-handedly resurrect the career of Stephen Dorff? Because True Detective season 3 did. Like that was
might have done that for Chad Coleman a few years ago.
Wait, where's Chad? Chad Coleman wasn't in trouble because he slummed for 2 seasons on The Walking Dead. Come on.
Chad Coleman was put on the map by The Wire, and then he shit all over his career by doing The Walking Dead for 2 seasons.
I don't know if he shit on the career.
And the Expanse resurrected him.
Did it resurrect him? I don't even know. It feels like they've got him on live. They
still
need
have
more
life support. Yeah,
need more Chad in the Expanse.
If the Expanse was a bigger show, he's resurrected.
You want to get over to the True Detective hump next season? You got to get more Chad Coleman in.
I agree.
Get Bezos to note. Bald move is spoken.
Get him some even longer hair, and let's do this thing. And bring Jared Harris back. Why not?
Get him. But
we need them playing off each other again because that was delicious.
I need the Belters politicians be as well represented as the Earth ones. What kind of racist bullshit is this? What kind of it's not racist, it's spacist. What kind of spacist bullshit is it that I know more about the Martian and Earth government? The 2 big leads on the Belter side don't get any representation this season.
It's gravitist.
Yeah,
it's the gravity well bias.
Some Wella Waller bullshit is what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. I'm
uneasy about the Deuce. I don't feel like the Deuce is better than the Expanse. God damn it.
Really? Okay.
My heart of hearts is telling me that something is wrong with the Deuce being this high.
Okay, well let me do this. I'm gonna do that, and we make it because I feel we're gonna fight about the top 10 a lot.
Probably.
Did you want to keep moving? Because we do need to go through.
Okay. Yeah, we'll structure out a top 5 here in a second.
Okay, here's the question: is Umbrella Academy better than The Boys? Because I don't think it was better than The Witcher. So if you're gonna say it's better than The Boys, then we can have a discussion about that. But I think Umbrella Academy is just outside of top 10. Feels really good for it. But it's the bet. I
really liked Umbrella Academy. It was definitely not as edgy as The Boys.
It's a little bit more surprising though. I don't know. The Boys had a lot of surprises too.
Yeah, they were both surprising, and they're both these shows in my mind are almost the same, with Umbrella Academy having more style.
The Umbrella Academy is Marvel. The Boys is DC.
Is that a factor for you? Because I couldn't give.
I'm just saying that says, God damn it! I wish you were a comic fan.
There's some baggage.
That was I fucking nailed it. I fucking nailed that analysis.
But you're a DC guy, right?
No, I'm a Marvel guy.
You're a Marvel guy?
Yeah.
But you love Batman.
I do love Batman, and there's sometimes DC can do a better job than Marvel. So
you're saying that Umbrella Academy should get the nod because it's Marvel?
Is a small, weird, intimate character detail, character piece about siblings and tough childhoods and the trauma it does to you as an adult. And The Boys is a big, loud thing about demigods throwing their weight around politically and economically.
The Umbrella Academy made a character out of an animated
monkey.
Was it a monkey?
He was a chimpanzee, wasn't
I
he?
think he was a chimpanzee.
They also
Made
made
him pretty
They also made
believable.
a chimpanzee man out of a real life human boy.
That's true. Yeah, they got hairy this season.
Uh-huh.
The boys had a love story with a dolphin
That's
that ended
true.
pretty spectacularly.
Yeah. Got some zoosexuality in here.
Judging purely on the animal content of each of these, I would say the boys was slightly stronger.
Okay.
But I like the style of Umbrella Academy better. I would say Umbrella Academy is probably, to me, just barely edges out the boys.
Huh.
Barely.
Whew.
Like that episode where what's his face, the wolf chimpanzee man,
Yeah, the gorilla
goes to the rave.
Yeah, it goes to where?
To the rave, is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I loved that whole sequence
Uh-huh.
in that episode.
Yeah, and I really like it wasn't his brother, his special ability he can talk to the dead, or one of the I really liked it. I actually liked how everyone's powers
The
played
time
against
travel
each
stuff
other.
was really cool in that.
There was some cool elements of that.
Now I will say the final episode fight was pretty dumb.
Yeah.
Pretty dumb.
Well, there you go. There's that's well, I don't know. Marvel fight scenes are actually pretty good nowadays. I'm
They
thinking
sure
like
are.
Marvel, like on Fox or Sony versus Marvel Disney. Yeah, they also. I thought they executed the twist of the sibling that didn't have powers pretty well too. There's a lot of pathos in there. I don't know. I don't know if that like number one. I don't like it nearly as much as The Witcher. Well, I don't know. I mean, nearly as much. I don't like as much as The Witcher. So it's like it's one is weird kind of paper rock scissors deal where you like it better than The Boys and I don't like it better than The Witcher and you've never seen The Witcher, so.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, like I forgot about that Umbrella Academy ending that I had some real serious problems with. And The Boys, I can't remember ever having like big problems with The Boys. That's that Homelander thing that I mentioned was like pretty minor in the overall scheme of things. It was pretty nitpicky. Maybe it's fine where it is. I haven't seen The Witcher, but The Boys might barely edge out Umbrella Academy.
Okay. So then I got Dark Season 2.
You
Which
need a little more style next to your boys. You need to bring like a little more something to keep your spot.
Yeah, it doesn't really have its own style. It just essentially copies the current state of cape shit and then makes fun of it, which is
The grimier DC feeling of the cape shit.
Which Umbrella Academy kind of rips off the X-Men, but it's a darker, weirder palette.
And flashier in places. Yeah, I was more impressed with the style of Umbrella Academy than The Boys, but
okay, now we're
doesn't
into
edge
Dark
out.
Season 2, which I don't even like. I've only seen 2 episodes of. It's got a good reputation. People are going to be outraged that it's even this high. But hey,
I mean, it didn't make our list.
yeah. And honestly, also only the top 10 is going to get represented on the show.
Exactly.
So I guess that's where it's like, do you need the Umbrella Academy to be? Because I'm willing to let The Witcher take a hit if you want to get the Umbrella Academy.
I think The Witcher probably deserves it more. The Witcher, we have to not fucking forget that The Witcher is maybe the first successful adaptation of anything video games.
That's a goddamn
in
good point.
History.
Yeah.
The history of the entire universe.
Yeah.
Like,
but you know what? It's not. It's an it's the Witcher video game is it's all
inspired by the novels. I know.
right.
Like,
That's what I'm saying.
but
Like,
the
I'm still
novels
waiting.
actually are much worse from what I hear. Like, Alexis
Really?
doesn't like the novels at all
I haven't started
and
on
loves
them
the
yet.
game.
But I think that it's interesting that I still am waiting for original video game IP to be adapted into another media and be super successful.
Right.
But yeah, I'm okay. So then we got like I feel like we should finish out the top 20. It's going to get a lot harder because I care much less about these
Right.
things.
I'd put The Mandalorian above Dark because
Okay.
I haven't seen Dark.
That's
but
fine.
honestly, that's where my give a shit ends.
Yeah. Like
Everything else
Das
on this
Boot
list
could
I
be
don't
better
care
than
about.
American Gods. Punisher is definitely not. Happy's better than Punisher. Fact. Boom. Black Earth Rising is better. I mean, Black Earth. Yeah, it's better than. Try to get a top 20 banged out. Let's stop me if you disagree.
I just don't care about anything past top 10, I guess.
Yeah. I'm just trying to do my due diligence here. Okay, that's starting to look. Man, Okay, producer Cecily. Have you been paying attention to any of this? Our top 20. Like, where do you think his Dark Materials fits in the top 20? Not above the top 10.
Not in the top 10. She says.
Is it better than Mandalorian? Yes. Is it better than Dark season 2? No. Oh well, then is it better than Happy?
I mean, we're gonna argue. I'm gonna argue with you about the order of the top 20.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
I'm not gonna help you here.
No, I'm looking the color. I'm looking the color. My opinion.
Okay, put it under Happy.
Okay. Cool. American Gods, Das Boot, Punisher. Man, I feel bad about this, the Terror Infamy, because I didn't see it, but then again, also I didn't see it. Like if
That
it was
says
in,
a lot about it.
if it was in anybody's top 20, I'd have been like, well, shit, I better go back and take a look, and it didn't.
Yeah,
I feel pretty good about that. I don't really give a shit about if Punisher's better than Harlots or Love, Death, and Robots. So yeah, let's go with that. All right, now let's return, because I know we left the top 10 a little unsettled.
Mm-hmm.
Watchmen number 1, Mr. Robot number 2. The Expanse number 3, The Deuce number 4, True Detective number 5, Chernobyl number 6. I think that's the real serious contention.
I don't feel good about True Detective. I think it needs to go up.
Okay. Above The Deuce?
Yes. I just think what it's... Well, how do you even judge that? I was going to say what it's doing is harder to do, which is weave in these timelines, but like The Deuce is another time and place, and
yeah, the performances are great. It comes down to preference.
Yeah. Man, I'm thinking about the big gut punches. Like I'm thinking about that scene on the porch in True Detective on Roland's porch where
Old man Wayne
goes to him, and like they have these heart-to-heart discussions, right?
Yeah, it's like they have to reveal their manly love for each other,
right? And it's sort of all couched in that like
yeah.
ultra masculinism or whatever.
Yeah. I think about that confrontation that Mahershala Ali had with his wife, where they're like getting like going out and hammering the fight, and then she's like essentially gives him an ultimatum or what, and he just kind of stands there and says, "Or I'll cry."
Yeah,
and like I thought the domestic dialogue is so good in a genre that the woman in these roles is almost always just some fucking bitch that's a stick in the mud, and you just wish the guy could pull it out of his ass so he could get her on with his like that. Pizzolatto did that woman's role justice, I thought, this season.
Yeah,
and it was real good.
And then I compare that stuff with some of the gut punches in The Deuce, like Big Mike.
Yeah,
that like fucking Big Mike scene.
Big Mike and Vince in the cabin talking about his life and whether he has regrets, and because that's the thing I was thinking
Paul
too. Yeah,
and his lover, like,
oh my god, with his parents.
And the parents, devastating, fucking devastating, like personally devastating too, because it's about estrangement.
Yeah,
which is something that I've experienced in my life, and
sure.
It's just like, god damn. And the fact that you can tell that cast cares about this story so much.
I don't like Chernobyl being out of top 5, but I can't make an argument for it being otherwise. Like I mean I don't know. I feel like I can make an argument if it's better than True Detective. But I can't. I don't know if it's better than The Deuce. It's another one of these like paper rock scissors things, depending on what you qualify. Like if you're talking about cinematography, acting, importance, degree of difficulty, they all like there's not a 5 out of 5 across the board on any of these things, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses. And it's really the top 5 is really brutal. Top 10's honestly really brutal.
I think 7 is where it starts to get less brutal for me, because I love Kingdom, but I don't think it sniffs any of these top 6.
Oh, of course.
I think there's a hard demarcation between 6 and 7.
You're right, and I don't know that there's a hard demarcation between 6 and 1.
What do you mean?
Like I don't know that there's not a similar vast gulf of quality between number 6 and number 1. Like I like Watchmen better than Chernobyl,
here
but
is like in a pack together.
Yeah, it's very very close. Whereas you're right, there's a lot of distance between Chernobyl and Kingdom.
Yeah. The more I look at this,
The more I look at this, the more I think that I like The Witcher better than Stranger Things.
okay.
Maybe even Kingdom. But, man, Kingdom's so fucking original.
I don't know. I haven't seen The Witcher. I'm happy with where, like, Kingdom, Stranger Things, The Boys, and Umbrella Academy are.
Yeah.
If you think that The Witcher needs to move around in this, I'll defer to you. But, like,
I don't know.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
There's a little bit of recency bias because I just got through The Witcher last month and everyone's still talking about it.
Yeah.
Whereas Stranger Things is I huffed over a single weekend over July 4th.
Right.
And got those podcasts out and haven't thought about since. I actually thought briefly about it in Christmas because there's like a teaser trailer for Stranger Things season 4. And there was like already a rumor that they shot season 3 and 4 back to back because the kids are getting older and they're gonna have a special Christmas season. And our reaction is like just to scream and like
if you motherfuckers,
if they drop Stranger Things season 4 in the middle of December, we were just gonna scream and never stop. It's gonna be like the Homer Simpson episode where what is he saw a body or something? I don't know. He just screamed and didn't stop screaming. Do you have big problems with the top 10 now? Can we make an argument for should Chernobyl be higher? I guess that's the one that's really sticking in my craw. But who gets bumped out of the top 5?
I mean, if you got an argument for it, make it, because I'm willing to hear it. Like
But you like True Detective better than The Deuce is the problem. If those were flipped, I would make an argument that Chernobyl is better than True Detective.
Oh, I see.
But it's a paper route that would require us to redo the other stuff. I don't know. You know what I want to start doing this year is at the end of my coverage of something, I ought to, in the document to keep track of what I'm watching, I ought to write like a paragraph of how I feel about it.
Yeah, at the time.
Yeah.
Because you're right, we got a lot of distance on True Detective.
A lot. That was like one of the first things we covered. I
can see some of the recency.
Okay, Okay, so I'm the one that writes the show notes for the podcast, so I kind of get a little bit of a glimpse.
Okay.
Season 3 to True Detective comes to close with a divisive finale. Many are upset at the show's apparent lack of interest in its own case and storytelling, but others see the acting, character, and thematic work as being more than enough to walk away from Westfinger feeling satisfied.
I think that was both of us. We felt satisfied.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people were like,
general audience did not.
Seemed like the investigation was beside the point or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I think that's becoming.
Here's the thing. I don't remember the fucking investigation from True Detective season 3.
I remember it turned out that there was a girl who was kidnapped because another girl died by a rich, wealthy family, and they kept her in an underground bunker until she turned into a teenager, and then she ran away and didn't want to be found.
And she was found on like footage.
So no one got murdered, but definitely a crime was committed.
No one got arrested because they just like found the horrible room decades later, and
and they're still like the most powerful person in town. So it's like, I mean, this is True Detective. It's as far as I can tell, all the seasons, the main investigation is a sideshow to hang on all the interesting character work that they're doing. So like, I guess it didn't bug me, but like, yeah, if you were like really into this Memphis 3 or whatever it was supposed to be aping case and it went awry, then I can see being disappointed. But like, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I could almost see swapping 4 and 5.
Well, if you do that,
because
then
like not remembering,
then you're swapping 4 and 6 too. Because I'm gonna. Man,
think Chernobyl's better than True Detective?
Yeah, because the thing is, you can judge them as seasons. Because True Detective season 3 has nothing to do with any of the other seasons.
Yeah, that's nice.
Chernobyl's shorter. It's not like True Detective season 3 was uneven, unless you just really were into the investigation, the sleuthing.
Yeah.
So what are you saying? Putting the
And
Deuce?
I got, yeah, Mahershala, is that how you say his first
Mahershala,
name?
yeah.
Ali is going to have strong contention in the best male actor
Yeah.
category.
Yeah. There's some stiff competition here.
Because of the things I love about True Detective, him and Stephen Dorff's performances through 3 different timelines as young men, middle-aged men, and old men.
Is there a male
Is
lead that's going to come out
mind-blowing.
of Watchmen that gets in the top 5? Maybe the Looking Glass guy. He's pretty good.
He's really good. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Because like I feel like Angela is the big standout there.
Petey's going to get it. Dale Petey.
Slippery Pete.
I don't know. So your argument is number 4 goes to 6, and both of those slide up?
Yes, I think. Yeah. Huh.
I will say, as a show, I think that's probably right. And then we have to talk about Deuce and Chernobyl. But they might need to be where they are.
I think I would be open to Chernobyl. Isn't that kind of what I just said too? Like that we were going to switch 4 and 5 and also 5 and I could see Chernobyl being above the Deuce.
Because I guess the thing that convinces me to drop True Detective there is that I was not as engrossed in the show itself as I was in the performances.
Like the first 3 episodes of Chernobyl I watched with my jaw agape.
Yeah.
And I had studied the Chernobyl incident a lot already. I knew a lot of the stuff, but I just couldn't believe like what I was seeing and how true to life it all felt, and like just a visualization of like the control rods jumping in the reactor room, and like how fucking unreal that'd be. The shaft of light, like you just did,
And
like
every episode had one of those.
yeah, like
Every
like
single
stuff
one.
like sometimes real life is stranger than fiction. Like that beam of light that shot out of the reactor room is just like something like when you throw the one ring in the crack of doom, you
Yeah.
know, like when fucking the head ghost gets out of the containment center of Ghostbusters. It's like science fiction but reality. And True Detective was just very quietly absorbing, and really drew you into the characters.
Yeah.
Some of the characters are like a lot like season 1. There's some of the characters had some very unlikable traits to them.
Whereas I think Chernobyl did the same thing. I think by the end of that, I was fascinated by the characters, but equally so the story of it and the actual plot of the thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is like Chernobyl ended and it was very satisfying, that final episode. Some of these, and I think that the same thing about True Detective. Like The Expanse was like very exciting and crazy, and The Watchmen is very exciting and crazy. Mr. Robot was more of a satisfying thing. The Deuce was more of a like it's crazy episode, as is The Want of Simon Pelicanos was the penultimate episode.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I'm good with this.
And by this, you mean
The top 5.
This list
I'm
of 10?
I'm definitely good with the top 10, but the top 5 is traditionally what we read, and then we have also blah 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 for the runners up. But yeah.
Yeah. If Watchmen was anything less than absolutely stellar in its best moments and dealt with anything less than the preeminent issue of our times, essentially, I would knock it down the list, because I did not enjoy the experience of watching Watchmen nearly as much as the experience of watching The Expanse or Mr. Robot or The Deuce or
Yeah, I guess
Chernobyl.
you're right. Like
all of those were better watches in my opinion, but the importance, like Watchmen is dealing with things that we have to get fucking straight in this world, or we are going to destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
And its highs were some of the best written television I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Its lows were shit that I hated. Like,
yeah, so that's just like I was talking about this with Cecily. It's like, you know, what's best versus favorite, because I think The Expanse is probably my favorite show on this list.
Easily.
But it's hard to argue that The Watchmen and Mr. Robot's not better.
I mean, Mr. Robot's doing amazing things in cinematography.
I'm actually somewhat shocked that Watchmen got to number one. I thought it.
Yeah, that's
I knew it was going to be top five,
internally conflicted
probably
about.
even top three, but I was kind of like surprised that it's shaken out this way, and I don't because I don't know that I can mount a serious argument against it.
And here's the thing: if Mr. Robot, if Watchmen were to drop, that would put Mr. Robot as number one, and I can't.
I don't
in
like
good
that
faith,
at all.
Yeah, that doesn't feel right to me. But I can't, in good faith, make an argument for The Expanse going above it. But I can't
Right.
make an argument for The Expanse dropping either because of how voraciously I consumed it and how excited I was in doing so.
Yeah. No, I think there's
pleasurable
so
it
there's
is.
other things like I don't think there's a gap in quality between 1 and 6, but I think there's a gap in affection.
Yes.
And honestly, I think Expanse and The Deuce are and maybe even True Detective. Man, I like Chernobyl. Yeah, like there's I have more affection for 3 through 6 than I do for 1 and 2, but 1 and 2 are just really excellent.
I can make
on
an argument for
multi-dimensions.
Watchmen going to number 6.
We need to make.
But I can't, in good conscience, do it because I think it's more necessary than any of these shows.
I feel like we're going to like we did with commissions back,
And it's harder,
back then.
too.
We need like a 4-axis of like
Right, a scoring system.
like visual quality, like cinematography, acting, writing, and entertainment value, like
Yeah.
some kind of index that we can kind of break these. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if we did that, if we came up with different answers, because this feels right to me. I like it.
Yeah,
I
mean, I like this list with the caveat that this is judged not simply on what I enjoyed the most, because this list would be entirely different
Okay.
if that were the only criteria.
What would be The Expanse would be your favorite?
Yeah.
Okay. Me too.
Expanse, probably Chernobyl, Mr. Robot, The Deuce, and True Detective line out the top 5.
I think I would be mostly the same. I'd be The Expanse, Deuce, Chernobyl, True Detective, Mr. Robot.
Okay.
Maybe Mr. Robot more than True Detective.
I think you
That'd be
liked
tough.
Watchmen better than I did. Didn't you enjoy? I thought you enjoyed Watchmen a lot more than I did.
I did like it.
From just a pure watching.
But it's also,
standpoint.
the other thing is that I was as busy as any time in my life, and like that, it was one show and 4 that I had to watch within a space of 24 hours, and whereas True Detective had the stage, it essentially had the floor to itself. And The Expanse, I got to watch at kind of my leisure over Christmas break.
Mm-hmm.
My leisure.
I think it's a good top 5.
Agreed. No
True
shame on this
Detective.
top 5.
Didn't quite make it, but
All right, we're ready to close
Feel
this
good about it.
deliberations. Ready to go to the
yeah,
stuff the envelopes, sign off.
that's it.
All right, we'll see you on the next one.